How do you deal with a rescue parrot? Hi, I'm Kaylin, the author of The Parrot, Bliss Bond. Please be sure to get your copy on Amazon so that you have your handbook to help you have everything that is going to be required to provide a quality life for your rescue so that you can then have quantities either of bliss or of an ability to recondition them, which we'll talk about, or an ability to help them in a way heal or recondition themselves. Let's start by a rescue. What do I mean by that? I think that a rescue is clearly a parrot that's at a rescue. That's pretty straightforward. I also consider a rescue a parrot that in a way is being rehomed. Sometimes a parrot is being rehomed because either the owner died or they got a job and they're going to the other side of the world and they just can't take their parrot. In those cases, you're not going to have, let's say, a emotionally maladjusted parrot. In other cases, the person didn't know how to handle a parrot and they were going crazy with the parrot. Or, for example, the parrot was an Amazon and they yelled and yelled and the people put it in the garage, which is not a good place for a parrot because there's no natural sunlight, there's usually no circulation of air, no fresh air. And so whatever it is that's happened, then this parrot is now, again, either emotionally damaged, or we could call it, they have baggage or emotional wounding. They're not in their parrotness. So, like I'm saying, I consider either a rescue because in either case, you're going to have to help them out and try to help rehabilitate them back to hopefully at least some of their parrotness. That's going to be absolutely required if you hope to have any kind of bond. And even if you don't hope to have a bond, you still are really going to have to do at least some of that in order to help them just stabilize. I can't imagine that you're getting a rescue bird to keep it unstable. Now, this is Quantum, who has decided that maybe he doesn't want to be here. Quantum is my male Cape parrot. One of my things is my parrots always leave me in my videos. Poor me. So in a minute, maybe I'll go get him. Maybe he'll come back. Maybe my daughter will get him for me. We'll see. Therefore, now, one of the first things that you need to determine is if you're getting a rescue, what is your intent? Are you hoping to have a blissful bond with the rescue? Realistically speaking, thank you. You're not likely, it's not impossible, you're not likely to have this big, maybe you'd like the other shoulder, come here, this big blissful bond with a rescue. Not to say that you might not, you might have a small blissful bond, but in other words, unfortunately, the reality is that a rescue parrot is emotionally damaged, wounded, scarred, whatever wording you like that you're comfortable with, but they're not in their complete parrotness. So that has to be brought back to balance before in their parrotness they can come forward and bond with you. So given that, again, one of the most important things I think when you're getting a rescue is to decide what you're really wanting to do, to provide, to experience. That way you won't be disappointed, and when a rescue parrot that is emotionally wounded is not able to take a treat from you because they bite you or they scream or whatever is going on, you are going to be prepared for it and not disappointed. Next, when you have a rescue, you have to really understand perception and conditioning. So perception is the way we see the world. Now, I'm going to give you a really good example of perception. We all dream at night, but dream interpretation doesn't work because people, at least they used to, misperceive that we all are going to interpret our dreams the same way. In other words, a strawberry in a dream, maybe it's supposed to mean fresh, sweet, But the thing is, a strawberry, the way you interpret it and the way I interpret it, the way you perceive it in a positive or negative light, as something desirable or undesirable, as something that you like or that you really dislike, the way you perceive the strawberry is going to depend 100% on you versus the way I perceive it is going to depend 100% on me. If I've never seen a strawberry before, I'm probably not going to dream about it. It's not really in my awareness. And if someone shows me a strawberry, I might be like, what's that? So I'm not going to attach any meaning. My meaning is, what's that? It's unknown. If I'm allergic, I'm going to have a very different experience with that strawberry. I'm going to be like, can you get that all the way like on the other side of the lake, please? So at that point, my perception of a strawberry is uninviting, unwanted, get it away from me. Like I'm going, get it away, right? Whereas if you think strawberries are delicious and sweet and fantastic and oh, such a special treat when it's strawberry season, you have a very different perception. And the way you perceive it is the way you start to define it. And so when that strawberry pops up in a dream, if you're allergic, it's going to have a different connotation than if you think strawberries are a sweet, delicious dessert. Now, a parrot that has been raised in the wild and hasn't seen humans is going to have a certain perception of humans. We can guess at something along the lines of, what's that? I think it's dangerous. I want to stay away. I'm going to fly in the other direction. A parrot that's been hand-fed and is still a baby has a perception that hands bring food and that when it sees a human face, it's a good thing. They're being taken care of. Maybe they're being coddled. Maybe they're being spoken to softly and sweetly. They're receiving love. They're getting this energy of love. They're receiving nourishment. They are truly being cared for. They are going to develop a very positive perception. A parrot that squawked, a parrot that bit, because this is what parrots do, and therefore it was thrown back in its cage. It was given seeds, and it's like, you know what, I'm not even going to bother feeding you vegetables because you just bite me. A parrot that's given that kind of words, that kind of energy, that kind of treatment, it's going to perceive people differently. It has been conditioned, you could say taught, but it's not quite the same thing. It's been conditioned to really find human hands to not be, to be something that they have to defend against, so they bite. It's been taught that humans have this negative energy and attitude and way of dealing with them. It's been taught that the only safety and security it can find is in its cage, where hopefully it's left alone, although it's probably still yelled at if it's making noise. And the cage might be dirty, so it's not a very nice place to feel safe and secure, and it actually may not feel very healthy. And therefore, the conditioning is very different. I'm very sorry to say that if a parrot is in a rescue, chances are it has gone through some negative conditioning and it is somewhat broken. It has some emotional baggage or wounding, and it's not in a good place to bond. Now, some rescues that are talented and have ridiculous resources, because a lot of them, they do their best, and I don't know what resources they have. Like, I kind of think that they're like the Mother Teresas in the parrot world. I think they pull off some miracles with very little. But some of them that are like incredible, they recondition the parrots and they have them hopefully come back to a place that's, at least a little more towards a balance, at least a little more towards reclaiming some of their parrotness. One way of doing that, which you can also do, is what I've done with Bonnie, to just let them be. And I just remembered that I still don't have a bird because Quantum left me again. I guess he's camera shy. Thank you. He doesn't like the limelight. Every bird has a personality, and this bird is not a Hollywood movie star. What I have done with Bonnie is I have let her, on her own accord, comfortably come out of her cage or not come out of her cage, comfortably step up or not step up, comfortably see us and see that we're going about our business, we're doing things, we're with other birds, the other birds like us, everything's good, and it's all good. Now, Bonnie is young and she had a little emotional wounding that she is working through, but the younger the parrot, the easier it is to work through it. The longer it's been going on, it's just like you and I. When we have had some maybe bad habits that don't really serve us in place for a long time, it gets harder and harder to break them. So the same is going to be true of your rescue bird. The truth is, if your rescue bird is behaving in such a way that they're allowing another parrot to preen them, they're in your proximity, this is not bad. I mean, this bird's in pretty good shape. I'm not saying they're perfect. I'm not saying they've recuperated their parrotness. I'm saying we're not talking about scales like this. And in some of those rescues, I think the scales are like, it's really off kilter. And I'm saying that if they're doing that kind of thing, you're doing better, much better than you realize. You have to remember that they may never be like the bird you have that you got as a baby kind of thing and that you're very bonded with. They may be, they just may never be. So that's why I was saying one of the most important things is you want to be clear about why you're rescuing and what you hope to gain so that you're not disappointed. With us, our yellow-naped Amazon Tico does not really relate to people, and he will let me pick him up now, and he'll, I have conditioned him that this means, would you like a pet? And he responds, and he either says yes or no. Yes is the feathers, kind of on his mane start to stand up so that I can pet him. No is putting his beak up like, I'll bite you if you do. So he's being very clear. I'm saying, would you like a pet? And he's answering either yes or no. This is after a couple of years with him, working with him. I'm thrilled. I think Tico's doing well. And when I saw him, I just wanted to give him a home. I didn't expect anything, and I haven't been disappointed. I'm actually very pleased. I knew that this wasn't going to be like my bonded or conure, bird that was going to be like just attached at the hip with me. I knew it wasn't going to be that kind of a bond. I didn't know that Tico was going to be crazy about conures. He probably was raised with conures because he seems to relate with them. And he loved binks. So that's another thing. If you already have a parrot, like the kikes in this example,
look at you good babies. Careful, Ozzy. Don't get too rough. Ozzy gets too rough with the wing pin feathers. And Kiwi's so nervous, but he's starting to relax a little. I don't know if Kiwi, the one in the back on the right, is a male or a female. But I tend to think sometimes that it's a female because it seems to be very, I don't know, like petite kind of and very gentle in her ways, like very sensitive. So I don't know, like the demeanor of the bird isn't quite anything like Ozzy. Ozzy's more rough and tough and just like a typical male, but I don't know. That could be wrong. I could be totally wrong. Who knows? You guys are doing fantastic sitting there. Yeah. They don't last very long like that, because all of a sudden then now Ozzy will get a little too rough. Kiwi will fight back. And then it'll all start. Look at outside at the butterflies and the birdies. Aww, you guys are so cute. I love it.
Then one of the things that's going on is your parrot, or in this example, the kayik, is really helping rehabilitate the other parrot. Again, the other parrot may not be able to fully come to a place of bonding with a human because they've already been conditioned very negatively, it seems, or that's usually the case, that the human didn't know how to handle them. And I don't think that the human was necessarily evil, because exotic birds are really expensive. And so generally speaking, people don't go and buy an exotic bird to torture it. They buy an exotic bird with ideas that don't match the reality. They don't know what the bird's really going to be like. They don't understand necessarily that, for example, my Amazon right now, maybe you can hear him. There he is. There he is. There he is. They don't know that this is what they're going to be like, and so they just get frustrated. They get disappointed. They get angry because they have unrealistic expectations. So my expectations of Chico were so low that he screams and it's fine. And, I think he nipped at me once, but he's never bitten me because I've never pushed him. So when you have that rescue, when you're clear on what you want the rescue for, you're going to have an easier time. If you are interested in going a path of rehabilitating them, but not necessarily, kind of being like, I understand that we may not bond, or I understand that in order to bond, that's like several steps ahead of rehabilitation. So that for that rehabilitation, you have to decide how you're going to rehabilitate. One of the magic ingredients is, someone once told me they rehabilitated an Amazon by spending 2 weeks. She didn't leave the house, 2 weeks with the Amazon. And at the end, they were starting to connect. They were starting to have physical proximity. I think she was starting to pet it, that kind of thing. 2 weeks, that's 24 hours times 14 days. That's a lot. And that's the recipe for having a successful rehabilitation, especially if you want to take steps towards bonding. You don't have to do that. You don't have to take 2 weeks off. You can also do what I have done. Just give them a positive experience, a clean cage, a lot of positive words, fresh vegetables, which they may ignore, food, fresh food, good pellets. If they're on a seed diet, you might have to transition them, but a healthy diet, which they may not just accept, but when you get them on a healthy diet, that's going to make a huge difference in their biological setup, their brain chemistry. When we don't feel good, we're grumpy. The same is true for them. So that's going to make a huge difference. All of these things are going to help you move in the direction of rehabilitating your rescue parrot so that you can then go from there. Again, also, I was a school teacher once upon a time, and when I was explaining like a math concept or something like that, and the kids weren't understanding it, I'd turn around to the ones who already understand it and be like, teach him. Because they perceived the math a certain way from their own 9, 10-year-old selves, and they therefore explained it in a way that a 9 or 10-year-old would explain it. Your parrot is going to be able to perceive what that parrot from the rescue is experiencing in, I think, ways that we don't even understand. But he or she is going to perceive the other parrot and going to be able to therefore relate and rehabilitate much faster, and I think much better than you could. And it's not to say that this second parrot won't bond with you. It's to say that they may really bond with their quote-unquote savior, and that's okay. Because if you're bonded with your parrot, like the kayik in the video, as you continue to bond with your parrot and connect with your parrot, the other parrot is going to go, oh, there's something else going on here. It's different here. And with time, and by time, like I said, Tico, we've gone from no touch at all to being able to pick him up, being able to pet him. That's been years. So give it a lot of time. It's a magical ingredient, and you should be able to make a big transition. I also think there is absolutely nothing wrong with letting a parrot be a parrot. And I think people need to consider that more. People, sometimes they get a parrot. Like there's someone who I know who has an Indian ringneck, and one of the things, and she got a second one, and the second one, bitey, just a big problem. And I said, decide whether you want that second one to bond with you or whether you want her to just be a companion, whether you just wanted to save her and give her a good home. And the person was like, oh, I never considered that. Like there's nothing wrong with just letting a parrot be a parrot. There's nothing wrong with having like an aviary with beautiful parrots in it, something like that. The most important thing is to know what you're doing, why you're doing it, how you want to do it, what your intentions are, because the only way to get from point A to point B is to know what point B is. If you're going from point A to who knows what point, who knows when you'll get there. All right, I hope this helps give you some ideas about rehabilitating your rescue. Now, I have a couple of people who have a rescue or are getting a rescue. If you have specific questions, one of the most helpful things is a video. You can post it on Parrot Bliss Flock, and then I'll download it. The quality is not going to be as good. If you remember, please give me permission, because then I can include it in the video like I have this one. And then I can address specific things as I see them. Please remember that I am limited to whatever I can physically see kind of thing. I don't get to interact. I don't get to size up the bird. I don't get to sense the bird. So it is my limited perception from, what you tell me in the video, just meaning that like I kind of have some blinders on, but I will help you as much as I can, especially if I can turn it into a video, and in that way help others and work on my mission, which is to hopefully help people keep their parrot in their home, help people bond with their parrot, keep their parrot out of a rescue so that more parrots don't have that problem in the long run. As always, please be sure to comment below, and I will catch you in the next feathered video. Quantum, thank you for staying with me now. Catch you next time.